Hi folks, I'm the Bald Guy, and these are Bald Guy Basics. Today I'm going to talk to you about preserving something that for me is an absolute must. I am a firm believer in wearing gloves when I work. Now, there's a reason behind that. It's not because I have sissy hands. I get a bit amused, some of my friends, they're real masculine, tough guys, and I don't use gloves especially when outside working with equipment or with firewood. I spent 10 years as an upholsterer in an upholstery factory. And one of the absolute mandatory things is hand care, because we built rather upscale upholstered furniture that was sold in Macy's and Bloomingdale's and various places. And even a dry hand with, you get a little cut or a crack from dry skin, it was really difficult because you're handling this fabric all day. And if you had a splinter or something, it was really bad, especially a crack or a splinter or something that caused a little bit of blood. I've ruined a piece of furniture. So I learned very quickly that when I'm doing other things outside the factory, I have to take care of my hands. Now, that being said, as I've aged, I'm not a small fellow. I'm about 6'5", and my hands are not ridiculously large, but they are large enough that it is a little bit frustrating to find gloves that fit well. And I've told you before, I'm a cheapskate, so I'm going to buy gloves at a big box store, whether it be a Walmart or a Lowe's or a Tractor Supply or wherever. And some of these, I get these Plainsmen at Sam's. But gloves wear out. And I have here a glove that I used last season, and it's retired. There's a hole in the thumb. There's a hole in the first finger here. But if you notice the shape of this thing. This thing is stiff from weather. Now, I can still use this glove, but from weathering, it's really dry. The leather abrades more severely when it's dry, and the hands are, as you see, quite warm. So between this month, we've just got through Christmas, and I've had a birthday, so sometimes I get presents, and one of the things I put on my list, hey, some good leather work gloves. And this is a pair that I have not worn yet, that I want to show you how to treat. This is a pair that I received as a gift, and I treated yesterday. And you can see I left the cuff of the glove untreated so you could see the tremendous difference. The product I'm going to talk to you about today is Obenauf's leather oil. Obenauf's, which is made in, I think it's Iowa. Let me look back here. No, Idaho. It's a USA-made product. It is a natural preservative that mixes natural oils with beeswax. So you always give this stuff a good shake when you're going in. But just to tell you, yesterday, I actually put the glove on, and there's a little applicator in here, and I'll show you. And I just covered this thing with an oily residue, and you think, well, man, that's a mess. By the time I did both gloves, the oil has absorbed into this, and there's no oily residue at all. The great thing about it is it also includes, it is a suspension that includes beeswax. So as the oil softens your leather of your glove, and softer leather means it will last longer without cracking. It will be more flexible, so the abrasions, it will absorb them better. But that layer of beeswax settles upon the surface. I can't really feel it, but it makes a nice water barrier. These gloves, part of the damage has come from just pure sweat, especially when I'm working on a spring or even an early summer day, and my bald head sweats tremendously, and I'll take that glove and wipe across it. And then when the glove dries out, it's crusty. So I wanted to show you, and I've had this stuff for more than a year. Okay, I'm back. Evidently, in my dialogue a moment ago, I said something that must have sounded phonetically like I was telling my camera to cut off, and my camera beeps and cuts off. But what I wanted to do today is just show you how easy it is to treat this stuff. And the treatment lasts for a nice amount of time. So I'm going to open this thing first because I'll need my fingers to get this wand out. And you can see it's a milky substance. They do not list what oils are used. They just simply say natural oils. But here's one of the areas I have with new gloves, because they are relatively stiff, unstretched. I like to have a glove that is a little more pliable. Now, Obenauf's will discolor whatever you use. But this stuff is great for your work boots, for both protecting the leather as well as waterproofing the leather. Or waterproofing might be a bit of a strong statement, but it certainly makes it water resistant. When I say it's a bit of a strong statement, I don't want you to think you can go jump in the pond and stepping in a mud hole or something and think, well, bald guy said this stuff was waterproof my boots. No, but for working in wet conditions, wet grass on a rainy day, yes, you're going to get a great benefit from it. So I'm actually going to treat these all the way down just because I like the way it looks. I want that cuff to be as pliable as the rest of it. But I thought when I was treating those yesterday, I said this would be a nice little video. So I left that cuff. The hardest areas to get for me are between the fingers and right on the tips of the fingers. But that's where you want some protection, because for me, especially with the kind of use I put these through, which often has to do with firewood. Use these with the chainsaw, and I want you to notice, you see the wet spots on there? Just while we're doing this, the wet spots are almost dry, and here I barely got anything on my hands, and I touched an area that is dry. You can actually wipe this in with your hands if you want a little bit of a smoother thing, and my hand it has a little oily residue, but not much at all. And just in the fact of doing that, I have no wet spots left on the glove. Oh, I missed a spot right there. So I'm going to do the fingers. A couple of these fingers were not quite as dark as the other ones. And I do want a pretty good covering. I noticed one of the things with my hands, paper towel here, I can lay that on. One of the things with my hands, my wedding rings, and I have a deer antler ring that I put over the wedding ring, and I do that to protect it, because whatever it is about my physiology, I can lose water weight, and it doesn't affect my belly, but it affects my hands. So on one day, my hands will be, my rings will be a little bit, not uncomfortable, but they're good and snug on my hand. But on another day, if I lose some water weight, the rings will actually slip off, and I have more than once taken a work glove and pulled it off and didn't even feel the rings came off, and I have to go back and check my gloves. So I'm actually going to do this one just laying here. Now, I am almost always frugal with putting stuff on, but here's an area where, I mean, I don't want this dripping, but you see I've got a good coating on here. I don't suggest going overboard, but don't skimp. Put yourself a nice coat on here. I'll tell you what, I'll use this old glove here for protection on my bench. Get yourself a good coat that will penetrate the leather sufficiently, and you will see if it actually ponds up on the surface of the leather. You just swab over it with your little swab here. And spread it a little more evenly, or you can use your fingers. It really is not, it's not a petroleum oil. I don't know if this has linseed oil, or I suspect there's probably some neat's foot oil in it. Just kind of going back and getting around the seams here. And around the fingertips. This is why I did the other one with the glove on, because you can hold the fingertips a little more easily, but this is doable. So that quickly, I'm going to close this up because I am so bad to hit something and knock it over, and I don't want to do that. But I'm not worried about, this is not shoe shine. I'm not worried about this oil being exactly even, but I like the weathered look, not leathered, the weathered look of the leather, and I really like how it softens the leather. And now this glove I'm not going to use anymore. I've already actually cut up the old glove and used old leather for other projects. But you can even take old gloves and really soften them up. So it's something, it's really nice to do. So for your work boots, I've even got some leather items that I've used as tools. Having a brother who works in leather work is a really handy thing. So I was trying to find, you know, I've done videos on how to bundle wood, firewood, if you want to sell it, or even to bundle it for yourself. And, you know, that's wrapping it with this plastic. But how do you get it into that bundled shape? Well, I had my brother make me what, it's kind of like a weightlifter's belt. It's about as big as, I told him to use a 5-gallon bucket. So it's got a strip that's about this wide. And then it has a regular belt strip that I can buckle. And what I do, I just lay it out flat, put a certain amount of wood on it, and pull it around. And I know by the size of that belt, if I've got enough wood in my bundle, pull it tight with a strap, and then wrap it, and then undo the strap and get it out of the way. Since I use that outside, Obenauf's or even linseed oil, any of those products is great to treat the leather, because they're going to be out in the weather, and that would cause them to weather, to crack, to get dry and brittle. So if you don't mind a little discoloration, and you saw the color of these, I've got just this tag here still untreated. You see how much difference it made. Now these were really dark yesterday, so overnight they've lightened up. You can be, if you use your fingers like on a pair of boots, you can be a little more, make the covering a little more consistent, but it really does kind of spread out well, and it makes your items pliable. And for me, especially with gloves, that's a real benefit on top of the weatherproofing that it will do for you. So if you like these videos, I hope that you will click that like button. I hope that you subscribe to the channel, that you will share these videos with your friends. As I've told you before, you can also find these, I cross-post these over on our Facebook platform at Bald Guy Basics on the Facebook app. So until next video, I hope you stay pliable and weatherproof.